Man, I hope this episode doesn't suck. Hello, YouTube! My name is Dr. McFoxy, and today I am gonna be bringing you a nice little science theory for the spooky season, even though we're well past spooky season now. Let me dream. So, how many people in my audience like the spooky season? 1, 2, maybe 5? That's not bad. I like it too. Pumpkins, cartoon bats, goofy witch costumes, candy, ghosts, all of that plus the added joy of giving yourself a good scare. All of that makes it a great season to play some of your favorite horror games. That is, if you like horror games. Because if I'm being honest, I don't. I'm not a fan of jump scares and the tension built around will they die a horrible, gruesome death is really not fun for me, especially if it's a game where I, the player, am the one who will die a horrible, gruesome death if I fail. Still, as my Animal Crossing island will show, I do love the spooky season. I love the cartoony side of Halloween, the dancing skeletons, and the colorful fall vibes. As such, I'm in need of a video game to play on Halloween that won't keep me up at night. So, with my love for Nintendo games and my intense fear of anything properly scary, it seems only fitting that I love Luigi's Mansion 3, the Halloween game for people who hate horror games. However, in my own playthrough, I came across a question. Luigi's vacuum, while most certainly verging on black hole territory, possesses a large amount of strength for something of its size. I mean, while my home vacuum, while it has consumed many Legos and even destroyed a pair of shoelaces, certainly isn't up to fighting ghosts or consuming ridiculously long curtains. This invention of EGAD's is really quite terrifying if you think about it, but none of the feats I listed earlier really compare to the greatest and most terrifying achievement of this vacuum, super suction. Super suction is an ability you unlock late in the game, which takes the normal suction power of EGAD's Poltergeist and turns it up to 11. It's insanely powerful and honestly one of my favorite things about the game, and it's sad that you can only use it 3 times in the game. But each of those times only shows off how epic it is, and I would like to start my theory off by looking at these. The first place most players will use super suction is on floor 12, a pirate-themed restaurant called the Spectral Catch. At the entrance to this restaurant, Luigi will be faced with a giant replica ship, which blocks his path. After a quest to retrieve one of EGAD's parts, Luigi unlocks the super suction ability, which can be used to destroy the ship and let him get through. The next place you can use super suction is on floor 4, the Great Stage. This is purely optional. Here, Luigi destroys the back of the stage to catch a ghost choir and access the floor's final gem. There's not much more to it. The last use of super suction is on floor 14, the last floor to clear before you enter the endgame. This floor, the dance hall, doesn't have as many puzzles or fun rooms as the floors below it, but has the coolest use of super suction in the entire game. After defeating the main boss on this floor, Luigi plugs his vacuum into an electrical outlet and proceeds to completely destroy the back wall of the room, pulling apart speakers and mortar alike in a frenzy of chaotic destruction. This lets Luigi into the back room and lets him complete the floor. With all that out of the way, let's get into the science behind the destruction. Every time we use the super suction, something breaks. This something would normally be very hard for Luigi's normal vacuum to break, not simply because of its size, but because of its strength. Strength can mean many things, but in science it refers to how hard it is to break something. You apply stress to something, and its strength is how much stress it can resist. In the case of Luigi's vacuum, we are looking at tensile strength. Tensile strength refers to how much you can pull a material before it breaks. For example, I can take this printer paper, which is very thick, and pull it apart very easily. It has a low tensile strength. However, with this marker paper, I have a much harder time pulling it apart, thanks to how thick it is. This paper has a high tensile strength. We measure tensile strength in pounds per square inch, or PSI. It's this measurement that will help us figure out the ultimate strength of Luigi's vacuum. Now, to figure out the ultimate power of Luigi's vacuum, we first need to figure out the tensile strength of what's destroying. Let's start with the spectral catch. The first thing to do is figure out what kind of wood was most commonly used in pirate ships. In this case, we're looking at Western Red Cedar, which has a tensile strength of 218 psi. That's not a lot. It's more than paper, and I doubt I could break it with my bare hands, and Luigi's normal vacuum can't do it, but it's not a lot. We have much bigger numbers coming up. Now let's look at the Great Stage. The Great Stage has a wooden and plaster wall behind it, and here we have some variety in how strong the vacuum could be. You see, in this case, we need to find the kind of wood most commonly used in housing, and there are 3 of these. The weakest is fir with a tensile strength of 200 psi. Then there's spruce, which has a tensile strength of 230 psi. The toughest kind of wood used in housing is pine, which has a tensile strength of 406 psi. That's double the tensile strength of fir, but is not the strongest thing that Luigi has had to destroy. No. For that, we must turn to the dance hall. You see, the dance hall has speakers, and those speakers are really hard to break. There are many things which make a speaker hard to break, but the piece of a speaker that I want to look at is the enclosure. The enclosure is the box around the speaker that holds all of the fancy insides. It's also what helps you to hear the bass sounds inside your speaker. Without it, you wouldn't have any whoop, whoop, whoop. Most speaker enclosures are made of a special kind of wood called multi-density fiberwood, or MDF. This is a man-made wood that is specifically designed to be strong, and it's also really good for speakers. The tensile strength of this wood is much higher than that of natural wood. The woods we looked at before maxed out at 406 psi. MDF is over 6 times as strong, with a tensile strength of 2600 psi. Let me impress on you just how terrifying that is. The strongest bone in the human body has a tensile strength of 1700 psi. It can take 1700 pounds of force before it will break. Luigi's vacuum can put out 2600 pounds of force. If you were caught in Luigi's super section, every single bone in your body would be broken in less than a minute. We have made things that put out 2600 pounds of force. Pressure washers can put up to 4000. However, the thing that separates pressure washers and Luigi's vacuum is the fact that a pressure washer will not destroy your fence or your bones. It has such a small reach that breaking things with it would take a lot of time and a lot of focused effort. Luigi's vacuum follows no such rule. We should all fear Luigi, or at least the man who made this terrifying black hole of a vacuum. Thank you for watching! If you're interested in more of my content, check out the 2 videos linked in the description. You can also find a link to my Twitter there where I post updates on the progress of my videos. If you want to see the channel grow, please share my videos with someone who will like them. In the meantime, I'll keep working on theories and hopefully have one ready for next time. Bye!